Hi and welcome back. In this video we're talking about debugging, particularly using the Pycharm debugger. The term debugging actually comes from one of the first computers that was built. You know, computers back in the days were massive behemoths taking up entire rooms, and their cabling was actually just exposed. And it turns out that a moth flew into one of the cables and some of the transistors there, and it caused a short circuit, and hence the term debugging was coined. It is actually removing bugs from the cables, or in our case from the code, so that our programs don't crash and don't perform badly. So we're going to try to remove any bugs from, say, our program here. And let's imagine that our bug is that we have misspelled this metrics click, and it should be clicks, because that's what the data is like. So let's imagine we don't know that, and we're trying to find out what this problem could be like, or what this bug could be caused by. Naturally, we have a nice exception handling here, but as you can see, we've not re-raised the exception, so all we're going to see is incorrect values provided. We're going to look through our code and so forth, and we're not going to find anything, so we eventually reach the point where we have to debug. To debug, what to do is to make sure that the correct file is selected, right-click it, and press debug. Now, debugging is just going to run your application, your file, as normal. So right now, if we right-click and debug, it's going to load up. It's going to be a bit slower than just running the application because there's a few more things happening in the background, and then we're going to see incorrect values provided to our calculation function, because of course we got that key error caused by the incorrect key being used there. Now, if we weren't able to realize that this is misspelled, we might decide to set a breakpoint. A breakpoint allows our program to stop at any point, and we can check values of things, and we can run functions and see what breaks. So this error here is raised by the perform calculation function. We know that because it's the only thing that's running in this line. So we know that this is the thing that must be causing the error. Otherwise, it would not be caught by this key error here, exception. So we can set a breakpoint, and in order to do that, just go over to the left here beside line 13 and just click it. Then a red circle will appear, the line will go red, and this tells you that you've set a breakpoint on line 13. Let's run the debugger again. You can either right-click and press debug user score, or now that this has just recently ran, you can press the wee bug icon here, or of course you can go to the top right and press the bug icon. Make sure that the right thing is selected, user score, in order to do that. Now we can see that our program has stopped. And it stopped here at the breakpoint. The line is now blue. That tells us this is the current line that we're running. The line has not ran yet. So we have stopped just before the line. The breakpoints will always stop just before the line. We can see that our user parameter here has a value of user Rolf. We cannot select this text here. Think of it as some floating info. It just tells you what the value of the variables in scope currently are. It's really handy. And notice how this uses that repr function. Earlier on when we talked about repr and str functions, I told you the repr function was most useful for development purposes. And this is why. Because whenever you see a variable, Pycharm is going to show you the repr of that variable when it's telling you the values of it. Now, if you open the debugger tab here on the left, which may be open by default, you'll see a bunch of stuff, and it can be pretty scary the first time you see it. The most important part here is these variables and these buttons up here. The variables once again tell you what variables you've currently got in scope. Inside this function, we only have one variable, that's the user parameter. Here, you can also open it up using this triangle, and then it tells you all the properties of the user at this point in time. currently, before we've executed this function here. Remember, this function is meant to update the user's score, but it's not ran yet, so it's still 0 as it should be from the init method that was called earlier on. You've also got the engagement metrics, which is a dictionary. You can open that and it tells you the clicks key and the hits key and the values. And you can also open up the name and you can see that it's Rolf. You get a lot of information from these things, including their types, dict, int, str, the length of the dictionary,